Good afternoon, George.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Hive student webinar series on content design. And this session is going to be hosted by our very own Lucas, who's a professional graphic designer, photographer, and currently works as a multimedia designer at Bongo Hive. He is also a founder of Photo Pictures with 10 years experience in graphic design, 5 years experience in photography, and is passionate about art and its various forms. So Lucas, thank you for joining us. In case you're joining us for the first time, student webinars are an extension of the Bongo Hive X student focused programs. We want to teach and inspire students in this new norm, to provide space where you can learn and ask questions and add value to the world. So thank you for joining us. And today's topic will be focused on tips and tricks on social media and looking at some of the businesses students are also getting in who require a lot of marketing, content, graphic and graphic design. So Lucas has got some experience in that, and he'll be teaching us and taking us through how you can connect with your audience and increase sales and drive traffic on your website if you do have a website, and eventually sell your products and services to social media by creating content and mainly to attract mainly through attractive visuals. So thank you for joining us. Lucas, are you ready?
Yes, George, I am ready.
All right. So if you're joining us I would like to know where you're coming from. You can type your name and use the chat in the chat box. You can type your name, where you're joining us from, what school you're joining us from, and also just to add something to inspire us, or maybe something one word that describes how you're feeling today. So you can put in the chat. So thank you so much. I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, George. Before I start, I'd like to apologize for, just in case if you hear background noise, I think my neighbor must be moving or something. So you might hear some noise or a truck or something. But other than that, I will try to speak as loud as I can, and I will not waste any time. I will get right into it. Okay. So we begin here by the title. I'd like to explain a few things so that at least you know what to expect. I know, and I will not assume everybody here has any design experience. So I will start from the basics, and it will be something that whether you have some experience in design or not, you are going to definitely benefit from this a lot. And just so we're on the same page, we will focus on social media. These are not tips that for general graphic design, but these are tips that with graphic design, can help you create better content for your social media. These are our objectives for the day. Learn the importance of using good designs for business and social media. Learn the basic design tips that will create effective visual content for social media. I have broken these down into 10 steps. This is not to say that these are the only steps that you will need, but these are definitely something that will at least get you started. In my introduction, after doing some research, I came across this fact that you can feel free to look up as well. More than 50% of the cortex, the surface of the brain, is devoted to processing visual information. Now, with this fact alone, you can clearly see how much of the processing of your brain is dedicated to the things that you see. And this could explain why you see that a lot of adverts are mostly focused on visual things. On TV, you find that the things, adverts, to put an advert there is even more expensive than radio or other things. This is the reason why we have all these billboards around Zambia, because the people that have placed those things know how important it is to advertise through those things, because of how much we get to see and how quickly we can process that. Moving on, I will jump right, before I jump into this, I've got a few things that I'd like to ask the attendees, and this is for you to type in the chat section as I will be going through the steps. One of the things I would like you to type in the chat section is if you already have a page where you, on social media, which you use for business, or you post pictures for certain things that you need to sell or a service, please let us know what type of phone or what type of camera you use to get better pictures. This could be helpful to the rest of us that are trying to get into it, and we've been seeing all these nice pictures of products being posted. Another thing is, for those that have gone further to know where to find certain resources like pictures and icons and stuff that we that are free to download or free to use, you can also let us know as I go along. Feel free to put that in the chat area. Okay, so our number one tip for the day is to have a brand. So the brand is usually described as the identity of your business or your service, something that could help describe what you are, what you do, what you stand for, and your visual appearance altogether. So, but I know not everybody maybe has got the resources to have such a thing, to money to have a brand created. So because of that, I'd like to give a side note about how you can create a brand without having to spend so much resources, because a brand is not always associated to having all these like big time logos and stuff like that. If you don't have that yet, but you have a business, you can look into at least making sure your social media has a proper name, because that is part of what makes up a brand. So have a proper name that people can remember and associate to your business. This will be very important, as you will see in the slides that follow. Yeah, with that being said, I have an example here of a few logos. Some of them I have tried to make as abstract as possible so that we can't see what the name of the company is, but I am sure by just seeing the symbols and the shapes that make up these logos, we are all able to know what these brands are. At least here in Zambia, most people should know what they are. Something like this one here, I'm sure we can see that this is definitely an MTN logo, even though I removed the MTN here, because they've created a very good brand for themselves. We have gotten so used to seeing this to the point that even when the name is taken out, we can recognize what it is. And this is one of the importance of having a brand and an image and colors and text that are associated to your business. So like I said before, if you can't afford to create a logo for now, you can look into at least having a business name, because that is something you will need to use later on, as we will see. So this is Apple, this is Pick and Pay, this is ShopRite. I hope the rest of us could see that without even actually seeing what the names of these brands are. So that's number one. Try to create some sort of a brand. Moving on to step 2, which is include your logo. So I know in the previous one I said, yes, even if you don't have a logo, you can at least use a brand name to put on your graphics or your pictures, or a URL for your website. But if you do happen to have a logo, which I would recommend you try to create, I will go through a few types of logos that I know, so that you don't think about a logo always being something like what we have here for Bongo Hive X. There are logos like what is called a lettermark. A lettermark would be a logo like, a good example is Coca-Cola and Samsung. Those are lettermarks because their logos are just letters or a word. And there could be some sort of like unique letters or unique text or font that was used, but we are still able to recognize them and see them. Most of us, without even knowing it, we probably can recognize a real Samsung logo from a fake one, or a real Coca-Cola logo from a fake one, because that has stuck to our head. There are other logos like combination logos, like the one you see here. This is the Bongo Hive X logo. It's called a combination logo because it has both a symbol and it has a text, a lettermark. So this is something that you can consider for yourselves. Logos are very important because they can be used to watermark your images or your graphics. Watermarking is sort of like putting a stamp on your images or your graphics. This will at least help you protect them from being taken by other people who might claim these are their pictures, these are the products in the pictures are theirs. It can also protect the images from being misused when you have a logo on that. So moving on to step 3. Before we go to step 3, there's an example here. This is an example of how the logos can be used. Like I said before, sorry. This is a way it can be used. This is a logo being used as the watermark. This is a picture that was taken at Bongo Hive. If you share this picture, or if you download this picture and use it, we have our stamp on it. People would know it belongs to us. Most likely they'll assume whatever was happening in this picture had to do with us in a way. Here on the right, we have the poster for this actual webinar that we are currently on. A logo was used. This time the logo that was used was the Bongo Hive X1, very similar to our other Bongo Hive one. But you can see my point is that without this logo, it would be very difficult to know which organization is involved in this. And this is an example of a logo being used on a poster. Step 3. Step 3 would be to set a goal. I know there's a lot of things that at a certain point you would want to say about your business or to say about your brand or your service, but you have to be able to set a goal and think about what you are trying to achieve with the pictures or the graphics. Here's a list of certain things that could be your possible goals. This could be to drive traffic. Driving traffic is you wanting more people to be able to visit your Instagram account or Facebook account or your website. Increase engagement. This is when you want people to be able to click on stuff when they visit your website or your account, be able to like your pictures, be able to share them, create a fan following. This is when you post certain graphic or picture in the hope that more people will be interested in seeing more of your content or hearing more about your services. Here on the right, we have the same poster that is that I showed before for this webinar. I will continue to use this poster as an example so that we continue to build over it. Here you can see a few things that stand out that could suggest that we are trying to, our goal as one of the things that are written over here. Like for example, drive traffic. As you can see here, we have placed a link to our Bongo Hive webinars page on our website. And we expect that before you can join this webinar, you are going to go to this link, then you will find this webinar listed, and then you will subscribe from or register at that point. So what we have done at this point is we have driven traffic to our website. Now our website offers way more than just webinars. So for those that are curious or that feel like they like what they see, they might end up clicking other links right there, and we would have at least achieved something through this poster and directing traffic towards our website. So a warning for this goal setting is to not try to put too many goals into one picture or one poster, because this could be overwhelming and can end up being too confusing for your viewers. Moving on to the next step. This is step 4. Step 4 has to do with now, at this point, we are considering, we've followed the steps before this one, and we are at the point where we're trying to actually post something on our different social medias. One thing to take note of is that the different social media platforms have different sizes and different resolutions for the types of images or posters that you can post. So take note of that and be aware that from time to time, these specifications for images and posters and profile pictures and such, they change as the apps are being updated. They don't happen too frequently, but they do happen sometimes. A tip here is to always Google and find out what the resolution or the size of posting an event poster is, or posting a profile picture is, and make sure you include the year at the end of your search so that it shows you what the most recent update is, because the resolution for posting an event in 2018 could be different from what it is right now. Next, I will show you an example. I will use Facebook here because we cannot go through the various different platforms, but you should, this is just to show you and to help you put in mind that other platforms will also have their own specifications. But I will use Facebook as an example right now. We'll start with a Facebook cover. These are the different types of images and graphics that you could try to post on this platform and even on other platforms. So we have the Facebook cover, we have profile photos, we have event cover photos, this is a repetition, photos shared in posts, and now we have stories. All these have serve a specific purpose. I don't know if people knew that, but they serve a specific purpose. So knowing what that purpose is could really help you know when to put up a story and when to put up an event photo or graphics. Another thing here, here on the side, you can see this is a cheat sheet. This is something you can Google for different social media platforms. A cheat sheet basically shows you all the dimensions and resolutions you need to know before you can decide to create something and make sure that it will fit perfectly where you are trying to use it. As a side note, right now is format. Be aware of format when you're uploading a picture or a graphic. Be aware of the format in which it's in. The most common format that we are used to is JPEG or JPG. JPEG is what is called a lossy type of format, which means that it can easily lose quality when it is being resized and when it is being downloaded and reshared and downloaded and reshared. I'm sure a lot of us have experienced this to the point where somebody sends you a poster or a picture that looks very poor quality, but they claim it was taken, the time it was taken, it was a very good picture. So that's JPEG, the common one. The one I would recommend you to use is PNG. PNG is also a picture format. It's what's called lossless picture format. PNG does not lose quality that easily. It can be resized, and most of the time it will return its proper quality. So we can look into that. Most of the editing softwares, even the ones that are found on our computers, like that come by default, will usually provide that option to save as PNG or JPG. Yeah, don't worry about it. I will give a few recommendations for certain softwares that you could use as a beginner or as a professional as we move along. Here's an example of how different sizes could affect your posters or your images on different social media platforms and different mobile devices. Here's an example of a cover photo for our Facebook account, Bongo Hive Facebook account. This is the full image that you see on your desktop. One thing you will notice is where I decided to put the content. This is everything that is important, or that I feel is important to Bongo Hive, the thing that we want people to see about Bongo Hive when they look at this actual cover photo. So this is what you see on the desktop. Here on the right, this is what you see on your mobile phone. I'm sure right away you will notice that the cover image is not as big as it appears on the desktop. And this is something you have to be aware of. And Facebook and other social media platforms have their own rules. But as you can see here, Facebook on mobile will crop this cover image. So you need to know where within the cover image you should put everything that is very important for you and you want it to appear on your mobile. So even when you add a picture as your cover photo, you could be somebody about to shake hands with another person right here in this area, but on mobile, when other people view it on mobile, they might only view one person, or their hands might be cut off and it might not make that much sense. So this is on sizes, and we need to take note on that. Moving on to our next tip. Tip number 5, blending of shapes and images. First of all, there are a lot of tools that you can play with in order to blend these shapes and images together to create posters that are more interesting rather than something that is completely plain. And shapes can also be used to create some sort of hierarchy and to draw attention to certain areas of your poster or your image. This can also be, shapes and can also be used to categorize certain things that you want people to relate to each other. For instance, if you're putting information about location and venue, location, contacts, date, time, these are things that are usually put together, and using these shapes, you could categorize them and put them in some sort of a group, so that when people are looking at your poster, they already know when they've entered this circle or this rectangle that, oh, I'm looking at this type of information right now. Yeah. A side note, when it comes to the blend of shapes and images, is alignment. I will show you an example on the next slide. Alignment and contrast are very important. They can really, really make a huge difference on your posters. Here's an example of how shapes and images are used together. As you can see, there seems to be a lot of rectangles in this poster right here. This is from one of our programs. A lot of rectangles. As you can see, the entire poster to begin with is a rectangle, and it follows through with this title, which is in bold, and it is also enclosed within a rectangle. At the same time, we have put our logo here within this rectangle, which kind of marries the two. It puts the title of the program, and it puts our logo in there as well, to kind of bring these things together. So when you're thinking, oh, there's this program, you also realize in that this program is being run by Bongo Hive, or has some sort of association to Bongo Hive. Coming down here, we have a huge white rectangle, which holds the rest of our information. On the left, as much as you don't see a line here in the middle, where this image of the lady starts, you can imagine an imaginary line, and it feels like it's probably a straight line based on these other rectangles. And on the left, you can see that this is where we've dedicated our information. Also, something to put in mind is that in the English language, we read from the left going to the right. So that's the reason why everything has been aligned to the left, and the letters are all in line. Remember, I said alignment is important. There's a bit of contrast here, so that people can be able to spot these bright colors and these dark colors contrasting, and be able to see that they're in a different section. So things have been aligned to the left. The words themselves, without even being put in a visible rectangle, you can tell that they form some form of rectangle that is holding them together. Here we have the program dates, rectangle, the title here to, this is a call to action, also in a rectangle, different colors used, black and orange, they contrast very well, easy for the eye to spot. The right side here has been dedicated to an image, which preferably should relate or make sense for the poster. So putting a picture of somebody playing soccer here wouldn't have made sense. But this is an accelerator program where people expect to share ideas, to work together and such. We decided to put this image of that shows exactly that. Other ways these shapes were used is what you see here, these slanting lines. These slanting lines are not by mistake. They are slanting lines right here on the laptop. It's something that maybe your eye might not pick up on real quick, but you might just feel like everything just feels right. And that is because your brain is picking up on such little hints that make something more attractive. So I have the lines here slanting in the direction of which these laptop screens are slanting. You can see a little bit of a slant here from George here. And yeah, that is on blending of shapes. Here's a nice picture that I downloaded as an example to show you how you could take it a step further by using shapes, just simple shapes to make something look more attractive and less plain. Yeah. Moving on to the next step, step 6, avoid too much text. When you have a business and you love what you do, you're trying to sell something and you're trying to sell items and services, there's a little bit of a temptation to want to talk more about it and to go on and on and on and promote your business. Well, as much as, yeah, that could be a good thing, it is not something that people like to see in form of text, especially on social media. I'm sure we're aware that with the coming of mobile phones and smartphones and social media, attention span is a little bit different from what it used to be. Not a lot of people are spending a lot of time reading certain things, especially text on social media. And this is why you should try to limit yourself to 1 or 2 lines. I will go back to the previous slide, this one, just to give an example of how we kept it to a minimum right here. This is 2 lines. It's 1 sentence, but has been broken down in 2 lines. I will explain what this is and what this is all about, the breaking of this line as we did here. It's straight to the point. This poster was probably accompanied by a caption when it was posted. So if you wanted to say anything more, you would have added that to your caption, because most social media platforms will allow you to write some sort of description that maybe talks a little bit more about what the poster is saying. So here are some tips to how you could include more text on social media without having to add all of it into your poster. Like I said, add extra information to the caption of the post. You could create a carousel. A carousel is something that's popular now on Instagram. Those of you that have been on Instagram will probably notice that you can post multiple pictures at the same time. And somebody can swipe left, I think. Yeah, you swipe left to see the picture that is coming up next. There's always a little symbol of some dots or something that show you that there's more pictures to come, so that you don't, if you're interested, you don't stop thinking it was just 1 picture. You can swipe left and see what the next picture is showing. So with the carousel, you could split all the things that you're trying to say and put them on maybe 4 to 5 small posters that you put in some sort of order. So of course there should be a certain poster that's number 1, where you talk about this, this, and this. Then number 2 should show you a little bit more information. Then maybe the last poster will say apply or follow me or something like that. You can add a link to your website or to your social media account. So this will make sure that you don't put everything you want to say on the poster. You create a beautiful enough poster, an engaging enough poster. If your picture is engaging enough, somebody will be definitely interested in finding out more. Then they'll click your link, or they will follow that link. Moving on. Maintain consistency. This one here is very is challenging, but there are a few tips and tricks, I guess, to how you can make sure you maintain this. In this context, I will talk about consistency in relation to how you, what you say in your caption in relation to what your poster is showing. So here's an example of a web series that took place, I think that was last week. The poster talks about what this will be to be a webinar. At the same time, our social media manager made sure to add a little bit more information in the caption as they posted it. Most of the time, people will click on your post. That by post, I'm talking about this caption that you put. You can see it says "see more." Most time, people will be interested to read further based on how engaging the poster is and what the poster is saying. So if I'm looking at this title and I'm very interested in this topic, or I love the speaker, I've heard her before, when I click this see more link here, which will show me more information, I expect to see more about what your poster is showing me. I do not want to feel cheated and find that you are telling me about buying shoes or something else. So you need to be able to gain that trust of your followers, and you need to be able to be honest. So your image or your poster should be something that just prompts someone into wanting to find out more. So make sure whatever caption you put relates to what your poster is saying. When you do this, you will avoid high bounce rates. Bounce rates are when people visit your page or your website, your social media page or website, but then don't end up doing anything as soon as they have landed on the page to which the link was connected to. So that can show that maybe people are not impressed by what they see when they actually come to your page. But so you have to think about it. How is it that my poster was engaging enough, or my post was engaging enough, but when they came to my page or my website, they did not feel like scrolling, they did not feel like clicking on any other tab. That is something that you have to think about. So with consistency, make sure if you post a nice picture, if you're a photographer, when people come to your page, they should be able to find pictures that live up to the one you just posted. You know, they should be able to see more of your works and be like, oh, okay, this is very nice. I'm glad I clicked on this link. The same thing with other services as well. When somebody is engaged enough to click on the poster because of something you're selling or something you're advertising, and come to your site or your page and find there's nothing about it, that should be a problem and you should be worried. In addition, to maintain consistency, the following can be followed. This is taking us back to the brands and the logos and colors. As you have seen, most of the posters I've shown you that have to do with Bongo Hive, even these screenshots that have to do with Bongo Hive, you can always see this gold color, you can see black, you can see white, you can see some gray. And when you come to our website, you will see the same thing. So you know you are not lost. You know you're in the right place. The voice you use in these captions, by voice, I'm talking about how you talk in your captions, is also a very big part of what could improve your image and your graphics. Next step is to be creative. There are many different ways you can be creative in using visual content. You don't have to feed your viewers with all these like posters or pictures of your dresses or your cream that you're selling or your shoes all the time. at a certain point, people will just enter some sort of automatic mode where they always just scroll. Some people won't even be able to tell the difference between a new post and an old post. So you have to be creative. Of course, remember to stick to your brand guideline if you have some. A brand guideline is some of the rules you set about how you will represent your brand. So there's some of the things you can do to make sure that you're posting different things that are interesting. Of course, visually using graphics or photographs is, first of all, you can create templates. These templates could be things where you've already created some sort of a frame, then you can be changing the pictures in those. Of course, don't overuse that because we're trying to be creative. Top 10 lists of things, top 5, top 10 thing about this, you know, some facts. You can use some GIFs. Those pictures, like they're moving pictures. It's almost like a video, but it's not really a video, it's a picture. Usually, maybe it can be 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or something repeating. There are various softwares online that you can use to create such a thing. Hopefully, those that know of any, you can suggest some for us in the caption, in the chat area. Carousel is back. You can use carousels every once in a while to keep people engaged. You can post quotations or testimonials from customers or famous people that inspire you. Infographics, these are posters that have some sort of, that describe some sort of cycle or steps or some sort of a guide using icons, graphs, tables, and such stuff. You can have screenshots. You can take a screenshot of something that you find interesting. Maybe that relates to your business from another business that you might like, and you might post that screenshot. Yeah, now we'll move on to number 9. Tip number 9 is typography. I'm sure you remember I said I will come back to talking about why I had split a certain sentence on a poster. The reason that sentence was split, let me see if I can quickly jump back to that one right here. The reason why this sentence was split is, of course, for the sake of the design. I really needed there to be a picture of some people here, but at the same time, I needed us to have this caption, which we were hoping would give you an idea of what this program is. So to do this, a few things were done. We make sure the title is bold to really draw attention and really seem important. We cut it up at almost half. So remember I said people read from left to right. Yeah, so I cut it up at almost half and I made sure it starts right below the first part. So when you're reading, you come here, you reach here, your next step from reading from left going to the right is to go downwards. So you come down here. Where I had decided to cut this sentence is also very important, because remember, whatever you do, not only are you trying to make it look good, but you're also trying to make sure that it makes sense and it is helpful to whoever sees it. So when you read this sentence, from business idea to a launchable startup in 2 weeks, this would have read different if we had cut it here, or if I had decided to put launchable up here, because there's a certain way we read certain things and certain ways in which we pause as we read those things. So not everything will sound good depending on where you decide to cut the word. So typography is basically the art of moving around text and words to make sure you keep them looking attractive and artistic in a way, but also maintaining that they are they're very well, they're readable, that you can read them very well, and making sure that you can put your point across, of course. When it comes to text that you choose to use in your graphics, there's a lot of psychology that goes behind text. I'm sure if you've watched horror movies and you're looking at the title of a poster, there's certain type of text that you associate to that. Those of you that celebrate Valentine's or birthdays or could be in like romantic relationships, I'm sure you can picture the type of text that is used in those situations. It's usually curly and it has that romantic feel to it. The same way you notice corporates, banks and such have this bold type of text that is used. So be aware of that when you're creating your posters. Think about the type of crowd you're trying to reach, maybe even the age, if that is important. A tip on using text, limit yourself to at least maximum of 3 types of text, fonts rather, when you're creating a poster. But ideally, it's better to use 1 type of text. In this presentation that you can see right now, I used 1 text. As you can see here, this big number. Oh, by the way, this is a very good example of typography. Rather than doing the usual, put in the number here, then put in a dot, then put in the title to keep it, as you can see, this has really transformed this part. You can see, I'm going through steps. You can see this number here. You can easily associate it to this number being a part of this part of the presentation we are on. This little small line that has been placed there as well. But anyway, coming back to text, this is the same text that has been used for this big number, this title, and this list of tips that have been put right here. Another thing to think about is the size of the text. Usually, huge bold text is associated to headers or titles. So you have to be aware of that. There's this thing called kerning. This is the space that is in between each individual letter. So this could really change how certain texts and other things look. And finally, on our last tip, the use of negative space. Negative space is also known as white space. Some of you might know it as white space. This is the space that you leave around your designs to let your designs breathe. I will try to take it back real quick to the previous poster I was showing. This poster here has some negative space, even though it does not feel that empty. We have spaces here in the edges. We have spaces between these titles. We have spaces between the logo and this huge title. We have a space here between the picture and these words. These spaces are very important. They help the eye to navigate. They help the eye to know when it has entered a different section. They help the eye categorize certain things together. So like I said, when we're talking about the shapes, rectangles have been formed here, even though you might not see some of them, but they are there, and the use of white space helps you see those. I gave an example of this image here. This image is if you draw a line straight here, falls in its own rectangle, even though we cannot see that there explicitly. Going back to our last step, examples, this slide, a lot of negative space. From the beginning of this presentation, you have, if you were paying attention, I guess, to the actual design of the slide, you would have noticed that my tips and all my titles were falling on this top left corner. Each and every slide that followed, if I may try to go back, you will see that it fell in exactly the same place. This also follows what I said about alignment. You can see the numbers change exactly in the same position. The spaces are helping you categorize. This right area is where most of my examples are falling. And this is where my icons that describe what type of slide we are on are falling. So you easily, by the time we were on maybe the second or third slide, you would have known that if I want to see an icon that shows what the title is, I'm looking on the right. If I want to look at the bit of tips that are listed about this slide, I'm looking at the left here in this area. If I want to know what step or tip we are on, I'm looking here in this area. This area, probably your eye has not focused on since maybe second or third slide because it has been consistent and empty. Yeah, here are a few recommendations for picture editing software. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, now I know these tips, but where do I start? I thought this would be something that would teach me how to actually edit and such. Here are a few tips of editing softwares. Unfortunately, we could not get into such technical stuff at this moment. But before we could ever get into such, we had to talk about what you can know about design before. Let's call this the theory of some design tips for social media. Some editing software recommendations here. Any inbuilt editor can really go a long way, especially for people who post pictures. There are different editing softwares that are inbuilt on desktop and mobile, even within some of the apps that we all use. You know, Instagram has filters and such. Adobe Lightroom, the desktop version I know is for sale, so not a lot of you might have access. There is a mobile version as well. I have not used that one, but I know there's probably a mobile version. Canva is a very good site to begin with. It's a platform online, so you don't have to worry about whether your laptop or your PC or your phone can handle the power of this platform, because you use it online. All you have to do is create an account. It's free. It has got other better features if you wanna go onto the premium account. Graphic editing software, they're the same thing that exists in your softwares that you find on your PC or your phone. You could explore some of those and see how you can use them. Canva comes back here as a graphics editing software. Most of the, at least some of the posters that I showed you, if you really take the time to learn Canva, you could make, like I said, I was using a lot of shapes and all that stuff exists in Canva. Adobe Photoshop, this one is very popular. This one is a little bit more advanced. This is for people who want to take the interest in actually starting to learn more and do more extreme stuff. Here are some resources of which where you can find some free icons, free sort of like characters, like animated drawings and stuff that you can use in your posters. FreePic has both some pictures and a lot of vector images and icons and such. You can use them on a free account or you can pay. The ones you use on a free account, sometimes you're used to credit where you downloaded them from. And Splash is a resource site for images. Noun Project is where you find all these icons like this one, this icon here. All those are found on Noun Project. Pexels is also a resource for images. If you're trying to find images, but you can't, you don't have a camera, you can download images here for free. Yeah, this is places where you can find me if you're trying to contact me and maybe talk a little bit more. This is my email. This is my Instagram. This is Lucas Focus, my photography page on Facebook. And yeah, from this point, I will hand over to George.
Well, thank you so much, Lucas. Please, you can leave your contact page open that people can at least find a way to reach out to you.
Right.
There are a couple of questions that have come in, and also need to mention that there's also people that are joined us from different parts of Lusaka and Mufulira as well, which is the Copper Belt. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, yes, so question number one is, this question is from Facebook, and I think it was regarding sponsored ads. And the question is, I keep getting flagged with my ads because there's too much text in the image ads. I don't know if you, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, that is actually very common, especially I went through that the first time I was trying to start sponsoring certain posters. So what Facebook does, it has an algorithm that scans through your poster, and it can detect text. So the way the algorithm works is that they have studied what type of posters and how much text is in those posters, and how effective they become when they are sponsored, like how many people actually engage and interact. So based on that, the algorithm tries to warn you and tell you that all this stuff that you're putting here might make your poster less likely to have an impact out there. A lot of the times, even though it flags it, it will still allow you to post. If you ever try to continue and post, you might find that it will post, but you might find that it won't get that much engagement from the people out there. So I suggest you look at what the character limit is, because it is counting each letter. I don't know if it includes the spaces between the words, but it is counting each letter, and it's trying to warn you and tell you that this much text, people might end up ignoring your poster because there's too much to read within the poster. So reduce that. Yes.
Okay. And there are a couple of people who are asking if the presentation will be shared. So I would just combine that with the other ones who are also asking presentation will be shared, but there's one question from Cholwe who's asking if the presentation will be shared.
All right. I'd like you to answer that for me. I'm not sure if that's okay.
No problem, Lucas. So as long as you signed up, and we will definitely reach out to you if you sign up. If you signed up on Zoom, if you registered, reach out to you via email to send feedback, and also to send the slides as well. Okay, and there's another question from Rhoda. What app do you suggest for creating posters apart from Canva? And what software do you recommend for beginners? Also, do you know of any site that teaches how to design content for advertising and creating newsletters?
Well, with apps or softwares for design other than Canva, I think it would be the other one I mentioned, Photoshop. For now, I use that one. I mean, it's very popular. Then there is Corel and Corel Draw, sorry. There's Affinity, I think. I can't remember what the full name is. I don't know if it's just Affinity or it's Affinity something. I recommended Canva a lot because as simple as it is, you can do quite a lot, especially as a beginner. It simplifies everything. You can start to learn Photoshop. I'm not saying you have to be a professional to start Photoshop. We all start from somewhere. About where you could learn more about using these softwares, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is a very good place to start because like it's free. It's free. Everybody has access to it. There are some very good designers out there that will give you tips. If not, and you have some money, you can go to Udemy. There's Udemy. There's what's that other one? I know that there are different sites that offer like these tutorials, but I must be honest, the very best ones are usually for sale. Yeah, some very best ones are usually for sale. They can range from $2, $3, $10. You just have to keep an eye on it and see when there's a promotion or something. Once you pay for it, it's yours forever. You just have to be able to log in like how you do with Netflix and these other streaming apps. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question from Iswaniso, and she's asking, is there any app that you can design a poster and it will change the design according to each social media platform?
Yes, I think Canva does that, and that's why I keep recommending Canva, because Canva has that feature, but it's only a feature on if you pay for the premium subscription. When you're using the free version, it would take whatever dimensions you started with, and that is what you'll be able to export. But if you would like for it to try and resize your poster or your image for different platforms, that is a feature that is supposed to be on subscription basis. And like I said, if you can't pay for that, there's a cheat sheet. You can Google cheat sheet and you can see what the dimensions that you need for a certain poster are, and you can put them in whatever software you want, create that canvas with those dimensions, and start to create those posters individually. So what I would suggest you do is that you create the poster with the biggest size of which you want to create. Maybe if you know on Facebook, it's 1080p by 1080p, like the dimensions for the poster I want to make. And then you know you want to make an event poster for that. You want to make a profile picture out of that. Make the biggest one first, then copy that poster and then take it to the smaller dimensions and make the necessary adjustments. It could work or it might not work depending on how complicated your poster is, but that is a quick tip on how you can utilize that if you're doing it manually.
Well, it sounds like Canva has a lot we can learn from, and probably it might require another class for it that we can fully explore and understand how it works. Okay, so moving on, there's a question from Mapalo, and Mapalo is asking, which software can I use to making newsletters and magazines?
Okay, so newsletters. Well, we have, there are different newsletter platforms, first of all. I am not aware of a lot of them because I do not make like a lot of newsletters, but if you know of the Bongo Hive newsletter and you want to know how we make that one, we use MailChimp. And MailChimp also has its free version, I think. Yeah, the free version. Most of the features are available. The only thing it really limits on is the number of emails that can be added to it. I'm not sure here, like I'm trying to remember clearly, but I think it has a limit of 1,000 emails. So you can send to, I think, about 1,000 people on the free account. But if you want to go beyond that, you will have to pay. It's got a drag and drop interface. So you can easily build your newsletter app by just using these rectangles, put them in place, and then you place this rectangle will be for an image, this rectangle will be for text, this rectangle will be for a logo or this or that. I'll put this line to separate this paragraph and that paragraph. Like you can easily just drag and drop it. It's very intuitive. There are other platforms that I can't think of any right now because I've not really looked into that, but I'm sure you'll be able to find some.
Okay. This will be a last question, and because we have run out of time. The question is from Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is asking, how many posters in a day can give you a competitive advantage on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter?
How many posters a day could give you?
Sorry, it's how many posts?
Posts. Oh, yes. Okay. Unfortunately, I would dodge that question. And the reason I'm saying that is because tomorrow we have Mbewe, who is a social media marketer. I hope that is the correct title, but she's has a webinar that you will find on the Bongo Hive webinars page, and you can register for. It will be tomorrow afternoon, and she'll be able to guide you on everything you need to know about how to post, how to plan for the content that you will post, and she's the expert in that field. And I don't want to take that away by giving advice without really being sure. And since she's on tomorrow, I don't think there's need for me to bring it up now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's a teaser for tomorrow's session.
Yeah, please, you should register for that one. It will be a very good follow-up on this one, because now that you know a little bit about creating a graphic, you need to know how you should be able to post it and schedule and stuff like that.
All right. Okay, Lucas, I thank you so much for this session. Do you have any last words for us?
Well, yeah. I'd like to advise, like everybody, especially the people that maybe don't have any background in design or have never done it before. Do not be afraid to try. I gave a few like simple tips here. They're not everything you need to know, but they are at least some of the things that you should be able to know. Some of you already create posters but are not satisfied, and simple things like space and shapes and the colors and the stuff that I said could really help make a difference. Just like anything else, practice will make you better. Practice will make you better. So you know your brand. When you set a goal, you know what you're trying to show people out there. Go to the internet for inspiration. Look at pages that are much more successful, that do something similar to you, to the stuff you do. For example, if you do, you sell like thrift clothes. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but if you sell clothes, I'm sure there's other pages that you know, maybe Grassfields. I think there's Grassfields. You can look at that page, look how they post pictures, look at the type of videos they post. If you notice that your problem is that your picture is not that clear, at least you know, oh, I need to get a better phone or a camera. If it is the way the models walk or talk, then at least you know that is what you need to improve on. So keep researching, copy, look at what other people are doing, and look at what the trend is currently, because the trend would let you know what people are used to seeing, and that is what will sit easier on people's minds when they see that. So you try to ride the trend, but also making sure you keep your stuff unique. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Lucas. You make it sound so easy, but I guess just practice. And a couple of tips that he also mentioned, which you can use as well. So it doesn't take you to go to school or maybe to read to get that degree, but you can also become your own graphic designer because of resources that are found on the internet and the free tools that you could use. So thank you so much, Lucas, for highlighting that and for making sure, making us confident about our graphic design skills. Okay, so we'll have a session tomorrow as well, and we've had 3 webinars. We've had 2 webinars so far, and then we'll have a last webinar tomorrow, which is going to be on social media Kickstarter. And this webinar will start at 15 to 16 hours. So please, let me confirm the time. Yes, it starts from 15 to 16 hours. So please sign up. And you can find that information on our website, bongohive.co.zm/webinars. Or you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, where you can find that information as well. So if you are a student as well, if you're a student joining us for the first time, we have a WhatsApp group. If you want to keep in contact with other students as well in different spaces of different schools. So this is pretty much a community where we get to share information and content about what Bongo Hive X is about. So please join us. And how you can join us is you could reach out to us on Facebook as well, and then we'll be able to respond to you with using that. So like we said, the session is recorded, and this the presentation will also be given. So we'll also reach out to you we'll also reach out to you on the emails, and we'll send you that information so that you could revisit you can visit the video, and also you can look at the slides more in detail. So thank you so much from us, and thank you so much, Lucas, for your time and
thank you, Josh,
and expertise. This was very insightful. All right, we're closing off, and see you all tomorrow at 15 to 16 hours.